My name is John Phillips. I'm the president of the Prescott Area Art Trust. It's my duty to introduce a good friend of mine. There we go. And also the mayor of your wonderful community, the Honorable Marlon Kirkendall.
What'd you do? Over there? Okay. I can truly say that it's an honor to be here. And representing on behalf of the entire council and our 502 employees, we want to say welcome to the city of Prescott. And weather's maybe not like exactly we wanted it, but it's good weather for Prescott this time of the year. My involvement in this project started several months ago. We were informed about the project at City Hall, and there was some discussion of the project and where it should be located, where it would make an impact, where it would be seen, where it would have meaning. And some of the early discussion was in the areas downtown and around City Hall and several places. This site became a part of the discussion, and there was a lot of work and effort went into working with the school district, the city, the right-of-way, and all of these things. But what a team was in place, and I think it has ended up that if there's a perfect spot in the city of Prescott for this monument, this statue, signifying the scouting movement, that we're at the right place, and certainly today is the right time. I've had a pleasure in Prescott of serving on the council with two former Eagle Scouts, Taylor Hicks Sr. and Vic Lavin over the years, and certainly the testament I can give about those folks and who they become after being part of the scouting movement would certainly give a lot of credit to why we're here today. So my job is going to end here in a moment when again I say welcome on behalf of the city of Prescott. But Mr. John Phillips, and I like that, an old friend.
It's a term of endearment.
And we are old friends. So John is going to be doing the master ceremonies. It's going to be an exciting afternoon, and we're here to give credit to the scouting movement and also a couple of the finest young men that I've met in my life. Finish up by saying a few months ago, Outdoor Channel, somebody help me?
Yep.
Am I right? They were here doing some filming of the site, and I was pleasured to come out and with the boys, the young men, and we made a few movements out there and pointed at the light poles and at the ground where this was going to take place. So, are they going to be back in the future to
We're going to send some stuff. It'll be on the Outdoor Channel, and we'll let Prescott know when it's coming on.
Well, great. Anything we can do at City Hall to help with the movement, well, please let us know. So, with pleasure, John, you're in charge.
It is our honor to have the distinguished pleasure of introducing a longtime Prescott resident Eagle Scout and former Secretary of State, somebody named Jan Bennett. Mr. Bennett.
Thank you. I hope it's not too formal yet. It's a pleasure to be here. When we received the invitation at our office to come, I started looking at it. It said Scouts. That was a big plus. It said Prescott That caught my attention. Then it said Miller Valley School, and I knew I had to come. I figured we might, if we were standing at the statue, as we probably would be with better weather, I could turn and look to one of the rooms on the far east end of the school there, which was my kindergarten room with Mrs. Johnson. And so this place has a lot of memories for me. I went to kindergarten, then they somehow moved us to Dexter for first, second, and third grade, but back here for fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. So Miller Valley School has always been a real important part of my life. But when I think about the things that helped to shape me as a human being, as a man, as a husband and father, now a grandfather, in fact, besides my family and our church, Boy Scouts played a bigger role in shaping me than anything else that I can think of. Even more than college education, any of the political service and public service that I've been able to participate in, I can think back to the things that I learned as a scout. In fact, as I look at the sculpture, and I'm anxious to see it in its full grandeur, it could be Gerald Turley putting his arm on the shoulder of one Ken Bennett. Except Gerald didn't have as much hair as the sculptor had in this picture. To cover his bald head, he always wore a wide-brimmed hat with a red bandana that he would tie. And he used that to control the sweat that would come off his head as we would hike. As I think back to the men who shaped my life, obviously my father, who is here today, and I appreciate him being here. I can think of some school teachers in particular. But besides my father and maybe a school teacher or two, Gerald Turley stands out in my mind as someone who shaped not only my life, but the lives of many of my colleagues, both older and younger. Gerald has long since passed away, and for years, if you didn't know Gerald Turley, he was an accountant here in town. His office was in the little brown building just on the west side of Willow Creek Road across from the hospital. And I can remember driving in the car one day with Mom, and I knew he was an accountant. And as I began being a little bit older, 12, 13, and realizing that probably because of he and a favorite uncle of mine that had become an accountant, that I was thinking about becoming an accountant. I was already aware of the fact that many accountants will go on and get their CPA license, Certified Public Accountant. And one day, riding around in the car, it occurred to me that there was no CPA identification up on the building where Gerald Turley practiced. And knowing him to be as smart as anyone I knew, as hardworking as anyone I knew, as capable as anyone I knew, it actually caused me to wonder. If you're going to be an accountant, why not be a CPA? And it just kind of came out, and I asked Mom, why isn't Brother Turley a CPA? And her short but poignant response taught me a great lesson. She said simply, well, maybe it's because every Friday and Saturday, instead of studying for a CPA exam, or taking the CPA exam, or doing all the kinds of things that it takes to become a CPA, maybe it's because he's out with you guys every week. And then it occurred to me, and this is no disrespect to anyone who has letters behind their name, CPA or otherwise, but at least to Gerald Turley, besides his family, and I think his church, the most important thing to him was not adding letters behind his name, but rather spending dozens of hours a week with young men, with boys who were turning into young men, and helping them to realize and have the experiences and the opportunities to hike the Grand Canyon and to hike the Bradshaws and hike all over central and northern Arizona and cook food that was barely edible as we watched him make the most beautiful chorizo and egg burritos. And taking us to the Philmont Scout Ranch and doing all kinds of things where over his lifetime he literally spent thousands of hours with young boys, young men, making sure that they understood the important things in life and that they developed the skills that would help them the rest of their lives. And so I just, in some small way, would like to pay tribute to Gerald Turley and thank him personally and publicly for the difference that he made in my life and many others that I know of. And congratulate these two young Eagle Scouts to be today, and all of those, the artists, anyone and everyone who has had a part in making this happen. That statue is going to be a wonderful and I hope an eternal addition to what is already a great community that we all love so much, but an ongoing and constant reminder of adult men and women who, like Gerald Turley, have given of their time and much of their lives to impact the lives of young men. Thank you for having me here today.
Our next guest has been an Eagle Scout since 1934 and has been involved in scouting for the past 78 years. He was the National Director of Activities for Boy Scouts of America and the Scouting Liaison to the White House. He is currently on the Advisory Council for the Grand Canyon Council, active in public relations, and is also a Merit Badge Counselor. It is an extreme pleasure for me to introduce to you someone I've known for years, Zach Hirsch.
I'm pleased to be involved, as I have been with this statue, seeing it from its formative stages until we'll finally see it as it is today. I have another tie. Former Jerry Wagner asked me to be one of the 5 founding members of the Prescott Community Art Trust. And this is one of the statues that is part of the Trust's gift to the city of Prescott. Prescott has a long history of scouting. Goes back to before I was born in what was then called the Yavapai Council of the Boy Scouts of America. It's now called the Grand Canyon Council. And if you're from the Grand Canyon Council and you meet a scout somewhere else in the country, they know exactly where you're from. Scouting has produced products like the 2 Riley boys who I've been connected with for the last few months, and Ken Bennett, who I consider a friend. But just for a moment, let's go back to 1910, for this is the 100th anniversary of the Boy Scouts of America. Earlier that year, a Chicago publisher by the name of William D. Boyce was lost in a London fog. And a boy came up and said, "Can I help you, sir?" And he told him the address he was looking for. And as was the custom in 1909, he wanted to tip the boy for his help. And the boy said, "Sorry, I'm a scout." Well, that turned Mr. Boyce on, and after he completed his mission in London, he asked the boy to take him to Scout headquarters. And it was Boyce in 1910 who brought scouting to this country. And we're here now in 2010 on the 100th anniversary. The man he met, General Stevenson Smythe Baden-Powell, Inspector General of the British Army, who had started scouting 3 years previously, in 1907. He'd written a book called Scouting. It had nothing to do with scouting we know today. It was based on the U.S. cavalry doing scouting across the country as we began to move further westward. And boys started reading that book. So General Baden-Powell took 21 boys to a place called Brownsea Island off the south coast of England. And for 1 week, put them through a program we know today as scouting. One day was orienteering, another one was knots, another one was cooking. They lived in tents. That was the start of scouting in the world. From that beginning in 1907, it has grown till you will find scouting in almost every country in the world, and to my knowledge, with the exception of Cuba. Yes, it's in the Soviet Union today too. It's in China. Some of the skills that the young men in this troop use are the same skills that were taught in 1907. Today there are 2.7 million boys registered in the Boy Scouts of America. That's quite a number. Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Adventurers, Explorers, and for those unacquainted with scouting of today, young men and young women searching out potential careers in our exploring program. The first Eagle Scout was in 1915. Today they cover every phase of our country. Just a few, and I'm naming men who I have personally worked with. President Gerald R. Ford, astronaut Captain Jim Lovell, Jimmy Stewart, industrialist Ross Perot, Willard Marriott Jr. of the Marriott Hotel chain, Steven Spielberg, who got his Eagle in Phoenix, and a good friend, Sanford Sandy McDonald, CEO of McDonnell Douglas Aircraft, who also served as volunteer president of the Boy Scouts of America. A number of our presidents have a background in scouting. John F. Kennedy was a Boy Scout. Dwight D. Eisenhower served as a member of our National Executive Board while still serving as President of the United States. Jimmy Carter, Cubmaster, Scoutmaster. This statue is a tribute to volunteer leaders, showing an adult leading a young man to the future. It's a symbol to all youth on what they can be and can contribute to American life. It's a permanent symbol, and it stands in the community you and I live in. Prescott, Arizona, part of Scouting, as far as we can determine, since 1910. We're 100 years and counting.